I'm Alfonso Mendoza, host of the My Ed Tech Life podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Hey, Steve here, and my podcast, Teaching Learning Leading K12, is hosted on Podbean. If you use my affiliate link when you sign up for podcast hosting, you will get 1 month free. I've been on Podbean for the whole existence of my podcast since November of 2013. In that time frame, I've had nonstop service. I've had easy access to assistance when I needed help. I've been able to upload unlimited pictures and podcast episodes. The dashboard is easy to use. My Podbean community has grown tremendously. Looking at starting a podcast? Well, use my affiliate link to get 1 month free of hosting. Go to my website at stephenmiletto.com/sponsors and click on the Podbean hosting link to see what plans are offered and choose the one that you like the best. You'll be glad you did. Boone Titanium Rings, found on the web at boonrings.com, is an affiliate partner of Teaching Learning Leading K12. And I'm also a customer. I have this really cool ring that's got these carved pistons and stars in it. I love it. They make rings of titanium that are carved, laser cut, and engraved, as well as they have inlays of many types of materials like meteorite, acrylic, wood, carbon fiber, and so many other types. They also have special collections that are incredible designs. One of the top sellers are the Gamer Rings, the Stealth Series, and the Black Zirconium. As a note, they also make earrings, pendants, cufflinks, and for you musicians, they make cool trumpet mouthpieces. Love it. Go to boonrings.com and at checkout use my code, capital T, capital L, capital L, capital K, number 12, and you'll get 10% off your purchase. So go check them out. I love my ring, and I know that you will love yours. Hey, welcome back. Steve here, and today I'm talking with Heather Hayes. That's right, Heather is back. She is an executive education consultant with Gale, part of Cengage Group. Today we continue our discussion about mental health and the special resource called Cameron's Collection. So much to learn today. Thanks for listening. And by the way, it would be so cool if you'd go to my website, stephenmiletto.com/reviews, and rate and review the podcast. Could you do that for me? Thanks so much. Enjoy the show. Hey, do you need help in becoming more effective at teaching virtual classes? Well, NVTA, the National Virtual Teaching Association, has a semester program that is college accredited and designed to help you become more successful as a virtual teacher. A few of the topics that will be focused on are establishing relationships in the virtual environment, virtual instruction best practices, differentiation in the virtual classroom, and managing virtual resources, among others. NVTA is an affiliate partner with Teaching Learning Leading K12, and there's so much there to help you be successful in the virtual classroom. So take a look. Go to my website, stephenmiletto.com/sponsors, find the NVTA logo, and click on it to take you to their website. Happy learning.
You are listening to Teaching Learning Leading K12, a podcast for educators, helping you help kids achieve their dreams. And now here's Steve with this week's show.
Heather Hayes is an executive education consultant with Gale, part of Cengage Group. Heather earned her BA in English from James Madison University and a Master of Teaching with a concentration in English from Virginia Commonwealth University. As a former English literature teacher and in her role as an education consultant, Heather has a passion for ensuring that we teach the whole child and that both the mental health and wellness and the academics of every child is fostered, nurtured, and protected, paving the way to each child's unique path to success. Gale partners with librarians and educators around the world to connect learners to essential content through user-friendly technology that enhances experiences and improves learning outcomes. For more than 65 years, Gale has collaborated with academic institutions, schools, and public libraries around the world to empower the discovery of knowledge and insights that push the boundaries of traditional research and advance learners in all areas of life. Today, we are focused on understanding how Gale can help you, that there are resources to help us understand mental health needs of our students and us, and learning more about the special resource, Cameron's Collection. Heather, great to have you back on the show. Say hi to everyone.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me back. I'm truly excited to continue our conversation.
Well, it's awesome to have you back, Heather. And let's start by talking about you as a teacher. What do you like most about working with kids?
There are so many things that I loved about working with kids, including the various perspectives and the ideas, the dreams, the goals, the purposes, the intents, that each student brought into our shared classroom that would truly guide our learning environment. And with each period, each day, it was never rinse and repeat. It was unique and really a beautiful way of celebrating each child and how I really learned from them as much as they learned from me.
You know, one of the things that's so cool about working with kids is exactly what you just talked about. Is that one of the things that makes it a never a dull moment is that they're constantly teaching us just as much.
Absolutely, yes.
So I love that. Yeah, if you could go back in time and find yourself before the first day of your first year teaching, what advice would you give you?
I would give the first year me the advice to breathe, to know that all we have is now, and that to live in the moment. I would, of course, acknowledge you absolutely have to plan for the academic year, the semester, the 9 weeks, the week, the day, the period, but that there is no honor badge or reward for staying up till 2 a.m. to grade those papers, that my students need me fresh each day for them. And as much as I grant them the moment and the grace to breathe, that I needed to grant that for myself too.
I love that advice, and I wish I could go back in time and tell me exactly that, because I definitely needed to sleep more. I remember that very much. Start feeling it every little bit, and so they don't get the best of you. So great stuff. I love that advice. You were on my podcast not too long ago, and we had a great talk. And let's start by reminding everyone about Cameron's collection. Can you talk about why it exists?
Sure. So before I talk about why the Mental Health and Wellness Virtual Library exists, I would like you to know who Cameron is. And Cameron Gallagher is a beautiful 16-year-old girl with hopes and dreams of conquering the world, lots of friends, a great big huge family, and on the outside, she appeared to have it all. But on the inside, she suffered very deeply and darkly with depression. And so her parents got her the continued help that she needed. And when she was in a good place and was really working through her depression and anxiety, she went to her parents and said, depression, I have depression. Depression does not have me. And I want to speak up for those who are like me, who battle with teenage depression and anxiety. I want to raise awareness, and I want to let each teen know that he is not alone. So she wanted to do a Speak Up 5K in her neighborhood to raise awareness, and then also to give the proceeds back to the Virginia Treatment Center where she sought help. So those plans were in place. And then one of the ways that she battled her depression is that she set very lofty goals. So she wanted to run the Virginia Beach Half Marathon. So she trained, and she was in tip-top shape for this race, and it is race day, and she and her running partner were near the conclusion of the race, and she started to cramp up a little bit, and she turned to her running partner and said, "Let's finish this." And so she and her running partner sprinted across that finish line. And as she's coming across, I can imagine her saying, "Mama, I did it." And at that moment, she collapsed and died. And Cameron Gallagher is my niece. And upon her tragic death is the birthplace of her legacy, which is the Cameron K. Gallagher Foundation, who raises awareness for teens battling with teenage depression and anxiety, and will speak up and will give hope. So upon her death, I had an epiphany. I said to myself, I work for one of the most revered publishers in the world. I support the academics, K12, in Virginia, DC, North Carolina, and Gale supports across the globe in the same component. In addition to the academic support, it is our responsibility to support the mental health and wellness of our students. So I went to the CEO of Global Gale and told him Cameron's story. and my intent to support the mental health and wellness of our students, the whole child, and he could not have agreed more. So we worked with our content team, our curriculum specialists, and the Cameron K. Gallagher Foundation to curate a collection of mental health and wellness resources that live on a virtual library that can be accessed 24/7 from whatever device at whatever location, so that no time of day the students can reach into this lifeline of support, a GPS, if you will, of a direction of where and how to get help and how to self-help. So that's really why and how it came to fruition. And being a language arts teacher, I'm very symbolic. So I would love to share with you a story that I most recently encountered of a symbolic, living, breathing example of Cameron's collection.
Please do.
So we live really close to the University of Richmond campus. And for your listeners who are aware of this campus, they know it is gorgeous. It is very peaceful. It's very hilly. There's lots of nature trails within. And it just so happened to be, I was driving through during a family weekend, and I noticed a mother and a young child traversing up a pretty steep hill. And the young child was getting pretty tired trying to walk up. So the mother leaned down and consoled and encouraged. Then at the next point, she reached out her hand to help guide. And then when it got to be too much, she leaned down for the young child to climb up on her back. And I think about those stages with Cameron's collection, that sometimes you just need someone to walk beside you. Sometimes you need a hand. Sometimes you need someone to carry the burden. And with Cameron's collection, knowledge is powerful, knowledge is hopeful, and it will span across the mental health and wellness components so that our students will feel that support no matter when and where they need it.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, what a terrible loss, but what a great gift she's given back to the world. So that's awesome that you've been able to bring Cameron's collection to where it is. So thank you so much. See, last time we talked about the resource being used for students, but Cameron's collection is also for educators. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I recall most recently I was doing a training for the Virginia Beach City Public School counseling team, and I was sharing with them Cameron's collection as they provide this K12 across their school division. And I was sharing all the different types of resources within. And the school counselors came to me truly with such gratitude and almost tears of joy and thanksgiving that they have the resources of the what next. We've all been in child study meetings or 504 meetings, or even in one-on-one school student counselor meetings, and you might give advice, but what is the what next? And within the collection, if a child is battling with some identity concerns, if they are battling with homelessness, they're battling with a breakup, they are hungry, they are inflicting self-harm, they are scared for a friend, or they are excited about a new job, they want to know the different goals that they want to reach to attain college. There's so much within Cameron's that will meet all these different needs I've just spoke about, that it is the what next to guide the students. There's so many amazing tips for facilitating mindfulness practices. There are so many different tips about awareness of types of anxieties and stressors. There are tips for guidance. There are tips for seeking help as well, so that the educator can really learn the many different things that the students need as they come into the classroom to learn the task at hand.
Can you talk about what makes Gale's professional learning collections unique and how Cameron's collection helped lead to these resources?
Absolutely, I would love to. So much like the student-facing resources, we have the resources for the educators and the administrators as well. And what Gale does so well is that we've turned the professional development day into continuous professional learning. It's the what next for continuous learning. By nature, as a teacher, as an educator, as a school counselor, as an administrator, you have a desire to learn, to evolve, to improve. And what these professional learning resources do, much like the student-facing, they are available 24/7, whatever device, whatever location, and it's really in the teacher's workflow. And we partner with very revered publishers such as ASCD and ISTE, Corwin, Solution Tree, Dave Burgess, and the National Science Teacher Association. And they've always been at the educators' fingertips. But since the birth of Cameron's collection, we listened to what our partners need, and there was a huge demand and need to have the thematic collections for the social and emotional learning for the educators themselves. So the professional learning collections that were grouped by publisher, which are still there in that capacity, but now we've morphed that into themes from the SEL for educators, the SEL for administrators, the teacher and administrator self-care, to coaching and mentoring themed collection, from classroom management to supporting our English language learners, to supporting parents and the community, supporting our school counselors, supporting our school librarians. So we have taken and heard what our schools need to support their teachers, and what they need is that on-demand, continuous learning that you can go into the collections, take a best practice, and then the next class period, you can implement and see the immediate change and the desired outcome that you need.
You know, it's so awesome the way how technology can make this at fingertips. So, you know, as opposed to in the not that I'm making myself too vintage sounding, but back when I was doing research and you had to, you know, you actually had to physically put your hands on some of this stuff and things like that. And it's so awesome to be able to have it right there, because the more hands-on, the easier that it is to put hands on, it means that the more likely they are to use that information.
Absolutely. And I do want to add, there's so many collaboration features within where I could pull up, cross-search the collection, and in one click be able to have a multitude of resources to help support the social and emotional learning of my team, and be able to share that link with one click as well. And the fact it can be translated into 48 different languages to, you know, meet the needs of our communities too. It's just being able to recognize that we as students, we as teachers aren't stagnant. We have to evolve. And at Gale, we're evolving with the schools. We're evolving with the teachers, with the students.
That's awesome. I mean, because that's, you know, as educators, we have to be about growth, personal growth, mm-hmm. and what an awesome resource to help with that. You know, I got to ask you this. You know, the pandemic's been going on. Are you finding that educators are seeking to help themselves with their own mental health situations?
Absolutely. I want to acknowledge that, of course, the need was always there, but now I can almost hear a collective sigh of relief that it is validated. It's okay to get help and to take care of yourself. And it's no longer just a gift, is expected, because you need to take care of yourself for your own well-being and for you to be good for the students that you serve.
It's excellent. You know, there's so many pressures on educators, and I think being able to have the access to those resources is going to help them be able to, you know, help them figure things out for themselves. I mean, a lot of times they're forgotten about. Mm-hmm. So good stuff. As educators, sometimes we get so involved in our students that we forget to take care of ourselves. And like we've been talking about, have you ever found that an educator had that aha moment for their own mental health when using the collection, that suddenly they think, hey, I could use this for me?
Absolutely. And I kind of had a collective aha moment. I was working with a group of school counselors who were grieving over the death of a student who died by suicide. And of course, it is heart-wrenching and heartbreaking for them, for the parents, for the school community, for the child, for the friends. And so they were talking about how they see firsthand when a child comes into their classroom and they've lost a parent, and they knew how to help the child and to be able to help them with Cameron's collection. But when they felt the pain firsthand through the tragic death by suicide of one of their students, that it became so real for them, and how that they knew that it was such an impactful way for them to help themselves as well. And then on another totally different spectrum, I was presenting at a social studies conference for all the social science coordinators in Virginia. And I love to kind of spice things up in a presentation, make it fun for the audience. And I was playing Imagine Dragons' song, Thunder, as the teachers and supervisors were walking in. And I posed the question, in what way are you going to bring the thunder and lightning to your students this year? In what way are you going to help them set fire to the rain? And post the presentation, a social science supervisor came to me and said, I want to offer this perspective to you. Not only do I appreciate this academic component, but you support our school through collection. I see that as to bring the storm of awareness, like the good storm of awareness of mental health to my school division. And she said that she wanted to kind of use that same theme of being able to bring that thunderbolt of awareness too. So I thought that was a fun way how it proves it's not just the academic, it's the academic and the mental health all morphed into one.
It's awesome. And I got a comment about something that you said, because, I think a lot of awareness has been brought about mental health needs and such in recent times. And, but I think one of the things that's interesting is something that you comment, which is that it's existed before. We probably just didn't really pay attention to it with our adults or kids. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
How does a school join Gale to be able to access the resources like Cameron's collection and others?
Sure. So we serve various school divisions in various states, and each state is represented by an education consultant. So for example, I have the pleasure and privilege of working with schools in Virginia and DC and North Carolina. And what is that they reach out to me at heather.hayes@cengage.com to be able to learn more about this. Or if you don't know who your consultant is, you go to Gale.com and there is a link to find my representative that they can click on, and they will be greeted with the contact information for that rep. So there are so many ways to be able to get in touch to learn more about it. But when you do acquire the resources, they live on a live and persistent URL, and the content is for the school division. They own the content. So within one click, they're going to be able to get to the resources. But to kind of rewind of how to even get to learn about the resources, if you don't know who your representative is, just simply go to Gale.com and be able to find my rep, and then that's your first step.
Awesome. So I'll make sure I have that linked in the show notes. And are there any other places you'd like to send people to try to find out more about Cameron's collection or about the resources that Gale has for them?
Absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity to do so. As I shared before, I would love to be the first point of contact. So it is heather.hayes@cengage.com. And I know that you'll be able to share that information in your notes. But also, when you go to Gale.com, go to Gale.com/social and emotional learning. And when you do that, you will have at your fingertips all the resources for Cameron's collection, which is the secondary, Cameron's Camp for Wellness, which is the elementary resources, as well as the professional learning content. And then on that same page, there is a myriad of best practices and success stories of across the United States of school divisions who are supporting their students in this way.
Very cool. One of the things that, it's so awesome that all this is available for our educators to have access to help them with the students and to help them with their own professional growth as well as professional needs. One of the things that I got to make sure that I ask you, I got a couple questions I got coming here, but one of them has to do with, it's kind of been interesting with, going through the pandemic has kind of changed the way, I don't know, we've interacted with each other as educators and so forth. And I was just wondering if you noticed, what you kind of think this might look like once we're done with this. Do you think it's going to change teaching any? How the pandemic's going to, once it's run its course, do you think it's made some major change in the way we're going to teach?
Absolutely. I think it has brought a huge awareness to supporting mental health and wellness, and that this component is not a luxury in school divisions. It is essential and is non-negotiable. That our children, we have been going through something we've never gone through, and the effects are long lasting. So what I would like to offer and share is that absolutely the pandemic has heightened this, but our children, our educators, we have been battling with anxiety, with mental health and wellness concerns, and with mental health and wellness blessings too. I want to point out that when you support the mental health and wellness of a child, of a being, of a person, it's not just the mental health and wellness concerns such as depression and anxiety, but it's what's beautiful about your mental health and wellness too. Meaning, you have goals, you have dreams, you have pursuits. So I would love for the educators in schools and for us all to, again, not divide it into mental health and wellness concerns, but the overarching mental health and wellness too, because, part of Cameron's is about setting goals and meeting desired outcomes and your college pursuits or your pursuit in a trade as well. And so that makes up the whole child.
I'm just curious because you're dealing with the growth of educators and you have these collections and stuff like this. And I was wondering just what you thought might be, because like for me, the biggest major change I've seen with educators that I don't think is going anywhere near away is a better comfort with using online resources and especially using then communication type technology like this, and which is something that it was a positive out of all out of all this. So I was just curious if you'd seen something like that. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay, absolutely. And then too, I was going to say to your point with that is that with this, what is so great, we talk about evolving, is that we evolve with needs so that the collection itself isn't stagnant. As new focuses come to light, we will add those focuses to the collection, and the school divisions have a choice to evaluate to see if they want to acquire the new content too. So that as needs evolve, we will meet those needs with the appropriate content.
That's awesome. Heather, this has been cool talking with you. And I got just a couple last questions. And the first one goes like this. If you had a chance to talk with an audience of educators about Cameron's collection, what would you want them to remember?
I would want them to remember that supporting the whole child means supporting the mental health and wellness of our children, which, as I shared before, is essential, and that it is non-negotiable. That our children need to know that we are fighting the good fight for them and with them, and that they are never, ever alone, and that Cameron's collection truly is a beacon of light, of hope, that provides awareness and knowledge and offers a direction of where to turn next.
Very cool. Last question. What do you think having access to the many resources that Gale offers can do for students' academic growth?
I love this because I love to learn, and I love my job so much because I learn all day long. And so with the academic growth, in addition to providing the vetted and authoritative content across the curriculum, across the disciplines, it engages and inspires with dynamic multimedia components. It allows for growth, providing means to differentiate instruction, to personalize learning. It not only will meet the learning needs, but it will challenge the learner to grow, to learn what's next, and to truly have the world of possibilities at their fingertips.
That's excellent. I love it. You know, this one of the coolest things about the world that we are in is that it just the ability to have, even just like right now. I mean, wherever all four of you guys are, here we are. Heather, you're a different place. I'm here. And, it's just, it's a cool thing just because of that. We can communicate and talk with each other. What a great way of, connecting and having access to resources in just so many wonderful ways like this. It's immediate access. Love it. So, Heather, where can everyone find those resources, including Cameron's collection?
They are housed all at one spot for your convenience and ease, from Cameron's collection, which is the secondary, Cameron's Camp for Wellness, which is the elementary, and then, of course, the professional learning resources. And they can be found at gale.com/ebooks/social-emotional-learning.
Very cool. Heather, it's been awesome catching up with you. Thanks so much for sharing about Gale, its resources, and such a special collection, Cameron's collection. I wish you well and the very best.
And thank you for having me. It was wonderful.
Teaching Learning Leading K12 is excited to be a member of Voice Ed Radio. Voice Ed Radio, your voice is right here. Teaching Learning Leading K12 is a proud member of the Education Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. The opinions expressed on Teaching Learning Leading K12 are those of the guests and host. Teaching Learning Leading K12 is intended to share ideas, advice, and suggestions for classroom teachers and school administrators. Teaching Learning Leading K12 is produced for educational purposes. Thanks for listening, and I hope you'll share it with your friends.